Gentleman yields. Mr. Menendez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to our witnesses for appearing here today. New Jersey's 8th Congressional District is home to the largest port on the East Coast. While we are very proud of this asset and all that it brings to our district, and what it does not just for our region, but our nation's economy, we all see an incredible amount of truck traffic through our communities. The port and trucking are both vital to our supply chain and our local and regional economies, but emissions from medium and heavy-duty vehicles emit nearly 25% of transportation-related gas emissions. We also know that transportation is the largest creator of emissions in the United States. Medium and heavy-duty vehicles often operate in densely populated areas such as my district and can have adverse health impacts on the surrounding communities. Sadly, these impacts fall disproportionately on overburdened communities. Ms. Osborne, first, welcome back. But can you tell us, how does the FHA's greenhouse gas performance rule work to reduce emissions along freight corridors and near ports?
Well, I don't want to oversell the rule. It is a sunlight and tracking rule. It is a rule that requires states and metropolitan planning organizations to make clear to Congress and the taxpayer what their intention is in terms of controlling greenhouse gas emissions. If they fail to meet their self-set target, there is nothing that happens. But there is certainly better information to the taxpayer and to policymakers to determine how they feel about that. You can't control something you don't measure. So I think having folks do a better job of indicating what they expect to happen in terms of their investment package, in terms of increasing greenhouse gas emissions, is an essential first step to doing something about it.
And it creates awareness and more information for communities to put pressure on those local actors to try to make those changes in a quicker fashion.
Absolutely, and this is a program where finding good data is very challenging. In every report we've ever written about federal spending, we have very long appendices that talk about the lack of recent data, comparable data, complete data, and so some of these tracking rules can help to provide just basic information about where the agencies themselves think things are going.
I just want to underscore that point because it's so important. There's a group in Elizabeth, New Jersey called Groundworks, and they find unique ways, low-cost ways to collect data about the different challenges that their communities are facing. And so by having that additional data that groups like that don't have to source themselves, they can be even better advocates for their community. So it's incredibly important, and something that even if there is no enforcement mechanism, I believe is still going to be helpful in achieving some of these goals. Moving on to worker misclassification. Worker misclassification has quickly become a large topic of discussion across all sectors. We've heard quite a bit about independent contractor and employee classification in this committee, as well as the independent contractor classification rule finalized by the Department of Labor at the beginning of this year. Mr. Pugh, we know that the rule will be good for workers. It provides clarity and will help to ensure that workers are not deprived of Fair Labor Standards Act protections like minimum wage. However, some large corporate motor carriers have claimed that the rule will harm independent truckers and owner-operators that want to work as independent contractors. What are your thoughts on what this new rule will mean for truckers and owner-operators that have worked as independent contractors and want to maintain that status?
I feel and we feel that it will not change. If you are in a compliant lease working for a carrier with a lease agreement, you will be fine just like you were prior to the last rule being passed. Actually, this rule gives more clarity. It's easier to show that you are independent, in our opinion. And finally, it does away with allowing control, because if you're truly an independent contractor, leased, subleased or whatever to another motor carrier, you shouldn't be controlled as an employee, meaning speed limiters and driver fleet management tools like that must be put into your truck. The prior rule that allowed that, and you could still be considered independent. We don't feel that if you're an independent driver or independent carrier and you have these kind of items, have to have them mandated or put into your truck by the carrier you're leased to, that's a sense of control. This does away with that. So we're good with the new rule.
I appreciate that and wish I had more time, but thank you all so much for coming.
Gentleman yields. As you can see, there is a House